You've been taught to strive, push, and control, but the masters knew better. Surrender controls. Reality is your guide to divine allowing, where the moment you release is the moment life begins to flow. Let go and watch miracles unfold. Surrender controls reality. Introduction. Within the stillness of your soul lies a forgotten wisdom, simple, eternal, and hidden beneath the noise of striving. It is the sacred art of surrender, the ancient key that unlocks the boundless treasures of the unseen realm. The mystics of old spoke in whispers of a divine paradox. What you grasp slips away, but what you release returns transformed. This is the law not of effort, but of alignment, the way of the universe woven into the fabric of creation since the beginning. You were taught to manifest through endless doing, to force your will upon the world. Yet the true laws, cosmic, silent, and sovereign, reveal themselves only when you cease your struggle and step into the holy current of surrender. Surrender is not a weakness, it is the highest command of your spirit, the bold act of yielding your path to the infinite intelligence that guides all things. The universe knows the way, even when your mind does not. When you let go, you awaken to what the sages called divine allowing. You become the vessel, not the architect, the channel, not the controller. And in this sacred state, life flows to you, unbidden, effortless, miraculous. This truth has been buried beneath the weight of modern effort and noise, but it endures. And now, it calls you back to unlearn, to soften, to trust. For in the art of surrender, you discover the most ancient secret of all: reality bends to the one who lets go. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Part 1: Awakening to the Power of Surrender. Chapter 1: The Illusion of Control. In a small village nestled among rolling hills, Eleanor tended her garden with fierce determination. Each day she battled against nature's rhythm, constructing elaborate greenhouses and using artificial lights to force her prized roses to bloom in winter. She measured, calculated, and controlled every variable: the temperature, the soil composition, the watering schedule. Yet despite her relentless efforts, her flowers remained stubbornly closed, their petals tightly bound. One morning, an elder appeared at her garden gate. His eyes held the wisdom of countless seasons as he watched Eleanor's frustrated attempts. "Child," he said softly, "you exhaust yourself fighting against the very force that wishes to help you." He guided her to a wild meadow where flowers bloomed effortlessly in their own time. Nature knows when to bloom, when to rest, when to grow. Your control is an illusion that only serves to separate you from this wisdom. This truth extends far beyond gardens. It reaches into every aspect of your existence. Your mind, conditioned by years of societal programming, believes it must direct every moment, every outcome, every manifestation. This illusion of control is the very barrier that stands between you and the abundance that awaits. The universe operates through perfect divine timing, yet you resist its wisdom, attempting to impose your limited understanding upon the infinite. Just as a flower cannot be forced to bloom before its time, your desires cannot be manifested through sheer force of will. The universe holds a grander vision for your life than your mind could ever conceive. When you release your grip on the how and when, you allow this higher intelligence to work through you. Consider Marcus, the river guide who spent years fighting the current, believing his strength could bend the river to his will. Each journey exhausted him as he struggled against the water's natural flow. Until one day, swept from his raft, he discovered something remarkable. When he surrendered to the current, it carried him safely to shore with ease. This moment transformed his understanding. He learned to read the river's rhythm, to work with its flow rather than against it. His journeys became effortless, and he traveled further than he ever had through struggle. Your path to manifestation follows the same principle. The universe is like this river, carrying you toward your highest good. Your resistance, your need to control, only creates turbulence in this natural flow. To begin releasing control, perform the release ritual. Take a piece of paper and write down everything you are trying to control: outcomes, people, timing, methods. As you burn this paper, speak these words with conviction. I surrender this to the universe, knowing that what returns will exceed what I release. Chapter 2: The Sacred Art of Letting Go. In the forgotten scrolls of an ancient city, there lived a collector named Victoria. Her vast chambers overflowed with precious artifacts, jeweled boxes, gilded manuscripts, and crystalline vessels that caught the light. Each treasure she acquired promised fulfillment, yet with every new addition, her heart grew heavier. The walls of her home gradually became the bars of her cage, each precious item a link in the chain that bound her. When you grasp tightly to what you believe will bring happiness, you create an energetic barrier that prevents greater blessings from reaching you. This universal truth operates with mathematical precision. The space you maintain for receiving directly correlates to your capacity for manifesting abundance. Your clenched fists cannot receive the universe's gifts. The law of surrender operates through this divine paradox. Only in releasing your attachment to specific outcomes do you create the energetic vacancy necessary for manifestation. This releasing is not loss, but transformation, a cosmic alchemy that turns empty space into infinite potential. Victoria discovered this truth one windswept evening when, overwhelmed by the weight of her possessions, she opened every window in her chambers. As the wind swept through, carrying her treasures into the night, she felt not loss but liberation. In that moment of complete surrender, she understood that her true wealth lay not in what she possessed, but in her freedom to receive. This wisdom echoes in the tale of Walter, a sailor whose pride rested in his collection of meticulously drawn maps. Lost in a dense fog, he relied on these charts to guide him home, yet each calculation led him further astray. Only when the fog soaked his maps to uselessness did he look up and notice the stars emerging, nature's own navigation system, far more precise than his careful plans. To access this ancient wisdom in your own life, practice the empty hands meditation. Sit in perfect stillness, placing your hands palm up on your knees. With each exhale, release one thing you've been clutching: a plan, an expectation, a desired outcome. Feel the freedom in your empty hands. With each inhale, imagine your palms as sacred vessels ready to receive the universe's abundance. Continue this breath cycle for 7 minutes, allowing yourself to experience the profound peace that comes with complete surrender. This practice realigns your energy with the natural flow of universal abundance. Your empty hands become not a symbol of loss, but a sign of readiness, a signal to the universe that you are prepared to receive gifts far greater than those you've released. Chapter 3: The Divine Paradox. In the annals of forgotten kingdoms, there lived a queen named Josephine who ruled her realm with an iron grip. Each morning she would ascend her tower, scrutinizing every detail of her domain through a golden telescope. No leaf fell, No merchant traded, no child played without her knowledge and consent. Yet with each passing season, her kingdom began to slip through her fingers like sand. The more desperately she tried to maintain control, the more her subjects turned away, until one day she found herself alone in an empty castle. Within the infinite wisdom of the universe lies a sacred truth that has transformed seekers across the ages. To gain all, you must first release all. This divine paradox operates as a cosmic law, yet its profound simplicity eludes those who cling to the illusion of control. The universe responds not to your grasp, but to your willingness to open your hands and trust. When you surrender completely to the higher wisdom that guides all things, you align with the very force that creates worlds. This alignment cannot be achieved through effort or will, but only through the complete release of both. In this release, you discover that what you sought was seeking you all along. This truth resonates in the tale of Edward, a musician who lost his sight in youth. For decades, he pursued every treatment, every cure, every promise of restored vision. His quest consumed him, until one night, exhausted by searching, he simply sat at his piano and played. As his fingers danced across the keys, something extraordinary occurred. He began to see music as colors, patterns of light dancing in his mind. In that moment of pure surrender to his art, his inner vision awakened, revealing a world more beautiful than physical sight had ever shown him. Through these ancient teachings, you will understand that manifestation operates through paradox. What you pursue retreats, what you release returns. The universe responds not to your desires, but to your state of being. When you cease the endless chase and rest in the quiet certainty that all is unfolding perfectly, you create the very conditions that allow your desires to manifest. The Paradox Journal Practice. Take a blank journal and write down your deepest desires, those dreams that stir your soul. Beneath each one, inscribe these words: I completely release my attachment to this outcome, knowing that in surrender it returns to me in its perfect form. Let each written surrender be a sacred act of trust in the universe's perfect plan. Chapter 4. The Intuitive Gateway. In the endless expanse of golden dunes, Florence trudged forward, her compass and maps held tight in trembling hands. Though an inner voice whispered of another path, she clung to her carefully plotted route, dismissing the gentle nudges of intuition as mere foolishness. Days passed, water dwindled, and still she pressed on, following the logical course that led ever deeper into desolation. Only when her last drop of water fell into the thirsting sand did she finally release her grip on certainty and sink to her knees in surrender. In that moment of complete release, a subtle knowing arose within her heart. Without maps or reason to guide her, she turned west against all calculations and walked. As the sun began to set, an oasis emerged like a mirage made real, crystalline waters and abundant life untouched by any cartographer's pen. The universe speaks not through the chattering mind, but through the quiet voice of inner knowing. This sacred intuition emerges only in the space of surrender, when you release your grip on logic and control. Yet most continue to silence this divine guidance, choosing instead to follow the limited maps of the analytical mind. True intuition differs vastly from the voice of fear masquerading as inner wisdom. Fear speaks in urgent tones, demanding immediate action and painting pictures of lack. Divine intuition whispers with gentle certainty, requiring no justification or proof. In surrender, you learn to distinguish between these voices, recognizing the peaceful knowing that emerges from the soul's depths. This truth echoes in the tale of Theodore, a merchant renowned for his calculated trade routes and careful ledgers. Each journey followed paths proven profitable by generations of traders before him. Yet one morning, as he prepared his usual caravan, an inexplicable urge arose to travel north into unmapped territories. All logic argued against this folly. But for the first time, Theodore surrendered to this quiet knowing. His journey led to a hidden valley abundant with rare medicines and precious stones, wealth beyond any his careful calculations had ever yielded. For the intuitive listening practice, seat yourself in perfect stillness with a single question written before you. Release all preconceived answers, all logical solutions. Empty your mind completely until it becomes like a clear pool of water, undisturbed by the ripples of thought. Allow the true answer to arise not from reasoning but from the depths of surrender. Trust that in this void of mental activity, divine wisdom will emerge with crystal clarity. Chapter 5: Resistance. In a valley carved by ancient waters stood a massive dam, where Dorothy had spent decades maintaining its unyielding walls. Each day she inspected the barriers, reinforcing any weakness, proud of her power to contain the mighty river. Until one morning an elder appeared at her station, his eyes reflecting wisdom carried through centuries. "You fight against the water's nature," he observed quietly. "Yet its power lies not in containment, but in allowing its flow." He led her to a place downstream where the river ran free, turning countless wheels that generated more energy than her dam ever could. In that moment, Dorothy understood. Her resistance had created the very barrier limiting the river's true potential. Within you lies a similar pattern of resistance, forming walls against the natural flow of abundance. These barriers, built from fear and doubt, become the very obstacles preventing your desires from manifesting. You resist what is, fighting against present circumstances, unaware that this resistance creates an energetic blockade that prosperity cannot penetrate. 3 primary forms of resistance impede your manifestation: denial, judgment, and forcing. In denial, you reject your present reality, creating a split that prevents authentic transformation. Through judgment, you energetically push against what is, strengthening its presence in your life. By forcing, you attempt to manipulate circumstances, which only creates greater resistance to natural flow. The universe operates through acceptance, not resistance. When you surrender to what is, you align with the cosmic current that carries infinite possibilities. Your acceptance becomes the foundation upon which new circumstances can build. This truth became clear to Martin, whose fields lay parched under relentless sun. For months he fought against the drought, attempting to force his usual crops to grow, exhausting his resources and spirit in futile resistance. Only when Martin finally accepted the dry season did his path to abundance emerge. Instead of fighting nature, he surrendered to it, planting drought-resistant seeds that thrived in arid conditions. His acceptance of what created the very conditions for unexpected prosperity to flourish. His fields yielded exotic crops that commanded prices far exceeding his traditional harvest. Now you are invited to practice the resistance release. Take a moment to identify 3 circumstances you currently resist. For each one, craft a surrender statement. I now surrender my resistance to circumstance, accepting it completely as part of the perfect unfolding of my journey. Feel the energetic shift as you release each barrier, allowing the natural flow of abundance to move through your life unimpeded. Chapter 6: The Alchemy of Acceptance. In a dimly lit chamber filled with ancient manuscripts and mystical instruments, Beatrice bent over her workbench, her hands trembling with exhaustion. For 30 years she had forced, manipulated, and struggled to transmute lead into gold. Her experiments grew increasingly complex, each failure driving her to apply more pressure, more heat, more force. Yet the lead remained stubbornly unchanged. One night, as moonlight filtered through dusty windows, she collapsed in despair beside her workbench. In that moment of surrender, she truly saw the lead before her for the first time. Its dull surface held a beauty she'd never noticed, its weight a dignity she'd ignored. As she accepted the metal's true nature, something extraordinary occurred. The lead began to shimmer with an inner light. This truth extends beyond physical alchemy into the realm of spiritual manifestation. When you resist what is, you create an energetic friction that prevents transformation. Your rejection of present circumstances, people, or feelings generates a force field of negativity that repels the very change you seek. The universe operates through acceptance, not rejection. When you fully embrace what is, you activate the cosmic laws of transformation. This is not passive resignation to unwanted circumstances, but rather a powerful alignment with the transmutational forces that govern reality. Just as water must first accept its current form before it can become steam or ice, your present reality must be fully acknowledged before it can transform. Bernard discovered this truth while traveling through treacherous mountain passes in winter. For hours he fought against a fierce blizzard, cursing the wind and snow that impeded his journey. His resistance only exhausted him further until he could no longer move forward. In that moment of complete exhaustion, he surrendered to the storm's presence. As his resistance melted away, he began to notice how the wind, rather than being his enemy, was actually creating sheltering snowdrifts. The very storm he had fought against was forming a path to a hidden cave where he found warmth and safety. What he had perceived as an obstacle became his salvation once he accepted its presence. Now, through the alchemist's embrace, you too can activate this transformative power. Find a quiet space and identify something you've been rejecting, a circumstance, person, or feeling that you've fought against. Place your hands over your heart, feel its steady rhythm, and speak these words with full presence. I fully accept circumstance, person, feeling exactly as it is, knowing that in this acceptance, the seeds of its perfect transformation are planted. Chapter 7. Faith. In the misty mountains of an ancient land, Margaret sat at her loom, her unseeing eyes turned inward as her fingers danced across the threads. Though blind from birth, she created tapestries of such breathtaking beauty that people journeyed from distant lands to witness her work. While others saw only individual threads, Margaret perceived the complete pattern in her mind's eye, trusting in a vision that transcended physical sight. Through surrender to her blindness, Margaret accessed a deeper seeing, one that revealed patterns invisible to ordinary vision. Her faith in the unseen allowed her hands to weave designs that seemed to capture the very essence of creation itself. Those who came seeking mere craftsmanship discovered instead a testament to the power of unwavering faith. This truth illuminates the essential nature of faith in manifestation. Faith is not mere hoping or wishing. It is spiritual vision that perceives completion before physical evidence appears. When you surrender to this deeper knowing, you establish an unshakable connection with the unseen forces that shape reality. Your faith becomes the bridge across which your desires travel from the realm of potential into physical form. In the realm of manifestation, Faith operates as a spiritual law rather than an emotional state. It requires you to know with absolute certainty that what you cannot yet see in the physical world already exists in the spiritual realm. This knowledge creates the vibrational frequency that allows manifestation to occur. Frederick, the lighthouse keeper, embodied this truth during the great storm that tested all souls. For 7 days and nights, darkness engulfed his tower. The tempest raged with such fury that no ship could possibly navigate the waters. Yet Frederick maintained his light with unwavering dedication, knowing in the depths of his being that his beacon served a greater purpose than his limited perspective could comprehend. On the 8th night, when the storm finally cleared, Frederick discovered that his faith had guided an entire fleet to safety. The captains revealed that in their darkest hour, when all seemed lost, his light had been their sole reference point in the chaos. His unwavering faith had manifested as salvation for hundreds of souls. The practice of the Faith Fortress now invites you to establish your own unwavering declaration. Take a piece of parchment and write your deepest desire in the present tense, as if it has already manifested. Let your words carry the absolute knowing that what you declare already exists in the spiritual realm, simply awaiting its physical expression. Read this declaration upon waking and before sleeping, allowing no contrary evidence to shake your spiritual vision. In this practice, you become the lighthouse keeper, maintaining your faith regardless of the storms that rage around you. Chapter 8: The Sacred Pause. In the halls of the ancient kingdom of Aldara, where wisdom was valued above gold, lived Abigail, trusted advisor to King Thaddeus. The king, though beloved by his people, was known for his swift and sometimes rash decisions that could shake the very foundations of the realm. One autumn morning, as war drums echoed from neighboring lands, the king prepared to launch an immediate attack. Yet Abigail stepped forward, placing a single white stone upon his war table. "My king," she spoke softly, "before you act, I ask only that you hold this stone and breathe 3 times. In that brief pause, intelligence arrived, revealing the drums were not of war, but of celebration. Through this simple act, Abigail introduced the sacred practice of the pause to the kingdom. Soon, every critical decision began with this ritual of stillness, transforming Aldara into a realm of unprecedented prosperity and peace. The power of the pause transcends mere patience. It is the sacred space where universal wisdom flows unimpeded by human striving. When you create conscious gaps between impulse and action, you allow the infinite intelligence of the universe to work through you. Most manifestations fail, not from lack of action, but from too much action taken too quickly. In these moments of sacred stillness, the universe reveals pathways invisible to the rushing mind. Your surrender to these spaces of non-doing creates a magnetic field that naturally draws your desires toward you. This is the forgotten art of allowing, where manifestation occurs not through constant doing, but through strategic stillness. Harrison, the legendary archer, discovered this truth on the highest peaks of the mystic mountains. For years he practiced endlessly, yet could never hit the most challenging targets. One dawn, in a moment of complete surrender, he noticed the subtle pause between his heartbeats. In that infinite space, perfect accuracy emerged effortlessly. "The arrow finds its mark not through my action," he later taught, "but through the space I create for universal forces to guide it." Your manifestations operate by the same principle. Their power lies not in continuous action, but in the sacred spaces you create through conscious surrender. The power pause practice beckons you to embrace this truth. 3 times each day, interrupt your automatic doing to sit in complete stillness for 7 minutes. Allow the universe to work through you rather than you working against it. In these gaps between action, the seeds of manifestation take root and flourish in ways your busy mind could never orchestrate. Chapter 9: Releasing Attachment to Outcomes. In a village nestled among ancient hills, there lived a sculptor named Clarence whose hands had carved wonders that drew admirers from distant lands. Yet his lifelong dream, his magnum opus, remained eternally incomplete. For decades he labored over detailed plans and precise measurements, convinced that only through perfect control could he create his masterpiece. One stormy night, lightning struck his workshop. As flames consumed his meticulously crafted plans, Clarence watched in helpless surrender. But in that moment of total release, something extraordinary awakened within him. Free from the chains of his own rigid vision, his hands began to move with a wisdom beyond thought. What emerged was more magnificent than anything his mind could have conceived. When you grasp tightly to specific visions of how your desires must manifest, you create an energetic cage that traps the universe's infinite potential. Your attachment to outcomes acts as a limiting force, restricting the flow of possibilities to the narrow channel of your imagination. Yet the universe, in its boundless wisdom, sees pathways to fulfillment that your human mind cannot fathom. The vibrational frequency of desire differs fundamentally from that of attachment. Desire is the soul's natural reaching toward expansion, while attachment is the ego's fearful clutching at control. One opens you to receive, while the other closes you to all but what you think you want. This subtle yet crucial distinction determines whether manifestation flows freely or stagnates in resistance. In the sun-drenched valleys of the East lived Harriet, whose gardens yielded harvests of legendary abundance. Unlike other gardeners who hovered anxiously over their plants, Harriet simply planted her seeds with clear intention, then walked away until harvest time. Visitors were puzzled by her apparent negligence, yet her yields exceeded all others. "The seeds know how to grow," she would say. "My watching only interferes with their wisdom." Your manifestations operate by the same principle. Once you plant the seed of intention, your constant checking and adjusting only disturbs the natural process of its unfoldment. The universe requires space to work its mysteries unhindered by your need to control the process. To integrate this wisdom, engage in the release ceremony. Take a piece of paper and write down your desired outcome in specific detail. Then, beneath it, inscribe these words: "This or something better, in the perfect way at the perfect time, for the highest good of all concerned." As you write, feel the expansion that comes with releasing your attachment to how your desire must appear. Chapter 10: The Wisdom of Non-Action. In the misty peaks of ancient mountains, a tale echoes through the time of General Sullivan, whose greatest victory came not through force of arms, but through the power of withdrawal. As enemy forces advanced toward his position, Sullivan did what no military commander had done before. He led his army up into the mountain passes and simply waited. His adversaries, expecting resistance, became increasingly confused by his absence. In their desperation to engage, they scattered their forces, searching everywhere for a battle that would not come. Within days, their army had dissolved into chaos, defeating themselves without Sullivan's forces striking a single blow. The wisdom of non-action surpasses all strategies of force. When you cease your striving, you align with the natural order that governs all things. This is Wu Wei, not lazy abstention from action, but the refined art of allowing universal forces to work unimpeded by your interference. In your manifestation journey, there comes a point where every additional action diminishes rather than enhances your desired outcome. True non-action emanates power, while inaction, born of fear or laziness, leads to stagnation. The difference lies in the quality of your presence. Are you simply avoiding effort, or have you reached that refined state of trust where you recognize that the universe requires no assistance from you? When you attain this understanding, you become a channel through which universal intelligence flows, unobstructed. In a quiet village lived Charlotte, a healer sought by many for her miraculous cures. Yet her greatest healing gifts emerged only after she stopped trying to heal. One day, exhausted from endless treatments, she sat with a patient in silent surrender, offering no remedies or cures. To her amazement, the patient's ailment vanished more completely than any of her previous therapeutic efforts had achieved. Through this experience, Charlotte discovered that her greatest power lay not in doing, but in embodying such a deep presence that universal healing could flow through her naturally. The universe operates with perfect precision when unhindered by human effort. Like Charlotte, your role is not to make manifestation happen, but to allow yourself to become a clear channel through which it can occur naturally. This requires the courage to cease all doing and trust in the inherent intelligence that orchestrates all creation. To embrace this truth, engage in the sacred non-action day. Choose one full day to completely cease all efforts toward your manifestation goals. On this day, abstain from planning, visualizing, affirming, or taking any action related to your desires. Instead, rest in absolute trust that the cosmic forces are already at work, requiring nothing from you but your permission to operate freely. This practice may challenge your need for control, yet it opens the door to power beyond anything your actions could achieve. Part 2. Deepening into Divine Surrender. Chapter 11. The Rhythm of Surrender. In the heart of an endless desert, a nomad named Emmeline battled against the harsh winds and shifting sands. Day after day, she pushed forward, fighting each step as though the desert itself were her enemy. Her water skins ran low and her strength waned as she searched desperately for the next oasis. One evening, as despair threatened to overwhelm her, an ancient figure emerged from the dancing heat waves. His weathered face held the wisdom of countless crossings, and his eyes reflected the depths of desert knowledge. "You struggle against what should carry you," he observed, his voice like wind over sand. "The desert breathes in cycles, child. It contracts and expands with its own rhythm. Fight this rhythm, and you will perish. Flow with it, and you will find your way." Under his guidance, Emmeline learned to read the desert's breath. When the winds grew harsh, she stopped fighting and instead created shelter, using the time of contraction for rest and renewal. When the winds calmed, she moved with swift purpose, covering great distances with ease. Through this surrender to natural rhythm, she discovered oases that appeared as if by magic, hidden in places she would have rushed past in her previous haste. The universe operates through these same sacred cycles of expansion and contraction. Your manifestation journey follows this eternal rhythm, yet you resist its natural flow. You grasp for constant expansion, fighting against necessary periods of quiet and withdrawal. This resistance creates the very blockages that prevent your desires from materializing. Consider the story of Winston, a sailor whose small fishing vessel once fought against the ocean's mighty tides. Each morning, he would force his boat through the retreating waters, exhausting himself and his crew while catching few fish. An old captain observed his struggle and shared ancient wisdom. The tide's retreat prepares the perfect moment for launch. Surrender to its ebb, and you will ride its return to abundance. Winston learned to use the ebb tide for preparation, mending nets, restoring energy, and planning his course. When the tide turned, his boat rode the waters with such ease that his catches doubled while his effort halved. Your manifestation follows this same pattern. Periods of apparent withdrawal create the precise conditions needed for exponential expansion. Through the surrender rhythm practice, you will master this cosmic dance. First, identify where you stand in the cycle. Are you in a phase of expansion or contraction? During contraction, deepen your surrender through quiet acceptance, knowing this pose strengthens your foundation. During expansion, express gratitude while remaining unattached, allowing the flow to carry you naturally. This sacred rhythm becomes your guide, showing you when to rest and when to soar. Chapter 12. Surrendering the Timeline. In a valley blessed with ancient orchards, Josephine tended her trees with fierce determination. Each morning she would inspect her fruit trees, demanding they bear their bounty according to her precise schedule. When the buds appeared too slowly, she applied artificial heat. When blossoms emerged, she shook the branches impatiently, forcing pollination before the bees arrived naturally. "These trees must bear fruit now," she would declare, "for the market waits for no one." One spring morning, as she prepared to force-feed her trees with harsh chemicals, a small child appeared beneath the branches. The child's eyes held an ancient wisdom that made Josephine pause. "Why do you fight against nature's perfect timing?" the child asked, touching a branch gently. "Each fruit contains a universe of timing within its seed. Your force creates only hollow abundance." The child guided Josephine through the orchard, showing her how trees that appeared dormant were actually gathering strength, how buds that seemed delayed were developing deeper roots. Through the child's eyes, she began to see the intricate dance of timing that she had been disrupting with her demands. When you insist that your manifestations arrive according to your limited understanding of time, you create resistance against the universe's perfect orchestration. The cosmic forces weave countless threads to bring your desires into form, yet your demand for immediate results unravels this divine tapestry. Consider Raymond, whose urgent message to the emperor seemed too important to delay. He rode through storms, forded dangerous rivers, and exhausted 3 horses in his haste. Upon reaching the palace gates, he discovered they were sealed for a sacred ceremony. Had he surrendered to the journey's natural pace, he would have arrived precisely as the gates opened, his message becoming the perfect culmination of the ceremony itself. The universe operates beyond the constraints of linear time. What appears as delay often serves as divine preparation, arranging circumstances for an outcome far greater than what you initially envisioned. Your surrender to this truth opens channels through which abundance flows naturally and perfectly. Through the timeline release ritual, you acknowledge this deeper wisdom. Take your paper and write the date by which you believe your desire must manifest. Now, with reverence for universal timing, cross out this date and inscribe these words. This desire manifests at the perfect moment, not a moment too soon or too late, which I now know may be much sooner than my limited mind can conceive. Chapter 13. Breaking the Chains of False Identity. In the Grand Theater of the Royal City, Thomas held audiences spellbound with his portrayal of a wise sage. Night after night he embodied this character with such conviction that the line between performance and reality began to blur. His reputation spread far and wide until even the king sent an invitation requesting his presence at court. Yet when the royal summons arrived, Thomas found himself unable to accept. "How can I attend the king when I must perform the sage each night?" he would say, clutching his costume like a second skin. The theater became his sanctuary and his prison, the role of both his triumph and his chain. One evening, as he prepared for his performance, a peculiar figure appeared in his dressing room, the court fool, adorned in bells and mismatched colors. Without ceremony, the fool began removing his own costume piece by piece. "What lies beneath the fool?" he asked Thomas, "and what remains when the sage's robes are shed?" Through this simple act, Thomas glimpsed a profound truth. He had become so entangled in his portrayal that he had forgotten the pure awareness that existed before any role. Your attachment to identity functions precisely this way. Like Thomas, you grasp tightly to who you believe yourself to be, your story, your roles, your accumulated beliefs. Each identity becomes a costume so familiar that you mistake it for your true nature. Yet these very identities, whether of lack or limitation, struggle or unworthiness, create an energetic field that repels the very abundance you seek to attract. Consider Amelia, born to immense wealth yet raised by distant relatives who instilled in her a deep sense of scarcity. When her true inheritance was finally revealed, she could not receive it. "I am not meant for abundance," she would insist, turning away from opportunities that arose. Her identity as one who lacked had become so fundamental that even physical proof of her wealth could not penetrate this self-imposed barrier. Only when a trusted mentor guided her to question this identity did Amelia begin to see how her attachment to being the poor one had created an invisible wall between her and her natural abundance. As she surrendered this false self-image, wealth flowed effortlessly into her life, not as something new, but as a recognition of what had always been her birthright. The identity surrender meditation invites you into the space beyond all acquired identities. Find a quiet place and sit comfortably. Close your eyes and ask yourself, who would I be without my story? Allow each identity to arise, the struggler, the seeker, the unlucky one, and watch as each dissolves into the vast awareness that you truly are. Rest in this pure awareness, the only state from which unlimited manifestation naturally flows. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14, The Language of Synchronicity. Along the mountain paths of the ancient highlands, Clarence clutched his map with unwavering certainty. 3 white doves crossed his path, flying west. "Mere birds," he muttered, pressing onward toward the east. A merchant passed, mentioning a sheltered valley to the west. "I know my direction," Clarence insisted. Even when storm clouds gathered specifically in his chosen direction, while sunlight illuminated the western path, he dismissed these signs as simple coincidence. Night fell, and lost in the darkness, Clarence finally collapsed beneath an old tree. In his exhaustion, something shifted, a surrender of his certainty, a release of his need to know. As his grip on the map loosened, his awareness expanded. Suddenly he saw with striking clarity how every sign, the doves, the merchant, the weather itself, had been orchestrating his journey, offering guidance he had been too rigid to receive. When you release your insistence on controlling life's direction, the universe's hidden language becomes clear. This sacred communication flows not through logic, but through the mysterious channels of synchronicity. Yet this guidance remains invisible until you surrender your need to force meaning through the narrow lens of intellect. The universe speaks through 4 distinct synchronistic tongues: First comes confirmation, repeated symbols or encounters that validate your chosen path. Next arrives warning, persistent obstacles or recurring challenges that suggest reconsideration. The third voice is direction, a constellation of meaningful coincidences pointing toward unexplored possibilities. Finally, acceleration manifests, a rapid succession of aligned events that propel you toward your desire once surrender is complete. In an ancient library far from the mountain paths, Sophia confronted a similar lesson. Night after night, she pored over an untranslatable text, her scholarly mind attacking it like a puzzle to be solved. Each morning brought only frustration, the meaning slipping further from her grasp. One day, exhausted, she placed the manuscript aside and walked into the city with no purpose. As she surrendered her quest for understanding, the city itself became a living translation. A child's song echoed words from the text. Market signs reflected its symbols. Conversations between strangers mirrored its patterns. By releasing her grip on intellectual understanding, Sophia allowed meaning to find her through the mysterious language of synchronicity. The Synchronicity Journal beckons you to this same surrender. For 7 days, record every meaningful coincidence without attempting to decipher its message. Note the repeated numbers, the recurring themes, the unexpected connections that grace your path. On the 8th day, release your need to understand. Let go of interpretation. Allow the collective wisdom of these synchronicities to reveal itself in its own perfect time through its own perfect channel. Chapter 15, The Great Unraveling. In a sunlit chamber at the heart of an ancient city, Henry sat before his life's masterwork, a tapestry of unmatched intricacy and beauty. Each thread represented a belief, a pattern, a way of being that he had carefully woven over decades. Yet as he gazed upon his creation, he noticed something peculiar at the edges, threads beginning to loosen and unwind of their own accord. At first, Henry frantically tried to secure the unraveling threads, to maintain the perfect pattern he had labored so long to create. But with each attempt to control, more threads came loose. In his exhaustion, he finally surrendered to the mysterious unraveling. As he watched without resistance, a remarkable transformation began. The threads didn't simply fall away. They rearranged themselves into a pattern far more magnificent than anything he could have designed, revealing a truth that transcended his limited vision. When you surrender completely to the natural dissolution of what no longer serves you, transformation occurs without effort. Your limiting beliefs, persistent patterns, and deep attachments begin to unravel, not through force, but through the simple cessation of resistance. This is the paradox that most seekers never grasp. The more you struggle to break free from limitation, the more firmly you anchor it in place. In the depths of an ancient fortress, Eleanor discovered this truth through different circumstances. Year after year, she hurled herself against the walls of her cell, bloodying her hands on unyielding stone. Her resistance to imprisonment became a prison itself, blinding her to the truth before her eyes. Only when exhaustion finally claimed her will to fight did she notice what had been there all along, an unlocked door, waiting silently for her surrender. Your own liberation follows this same principle. The very limitations you fight against are strengthened by your resistance. Yet in the moment of complete surrender, when you cease all effort to change what is, the door to transformation swings open of its own accord. The surrender unraveling invites you to identify your most persistent limitation, that pattern or belief that has resisted all efforts to overcome it. Rather than continuing the futile fight, turn toward it with complete acceptance, declaring, I surrender all resistance to this pattern, allowing the perfect intelligence of the universe to unravel it in divine order. Chapter 16. Prosperity Through Surrender. In the bustling marketplace of an ancient city, Victor moved from stall to stall, his eyes scanning desperately for opportunities to increase his dwindling wealth. Each venture he pursued left him poorer than before, his hands grasping ever more tightly to what little remained. As merchants called their wares and coins changed hands around him, a peculiar figure caught his attention. A beggar sitting in peaceful contentment, giving away the few coins placed in his bowl. Intrigued and somewhat irritated by this display of foolishness, Victor approached the beggar. "Why do you give away what little you receive?" The beggar's eyes held ancient wisdom as he replied, "What flows through me cannot be lost to me. What you clutch so tightly has already escaped your grasp." Through this divine encounter, Victor discovered the first fundamental truth of abundance, that wealth, like water, must circulate to remain fresh and vital. Your desperate attempts to accumulate and hold on to money create energetic stagnation that repels rather than attracts prosperity. The universe operates through continuous flow, not through accumulation. The 7 laws of surrendered prosperity reveal themselves only when you release your grip on material security. In a distant valley, Martha the farmer faced a devastating choice during the harshest famine in memory. With only a handful of seeds remaining, she watched birds gathering near her window. Against all conventional wisdom, she surrendered her last hope of survival, casting the seeds to the hungry birds. As the seasons turned, those same birds had scattered her seeds across fertile ground she could never have reached, yielding a harvest beyond imagination. This mirrors your own journey with material abundance. When you release your attachment to specific forms of wealth, allowing the universe to determine how prosperity reaches you, you align with forces of abundance far greater than your limited strategies could access. To embody this wisdom in physical form, the prosperity release awaits you. Take a piece of currency, perhaps a single dollar bill, write upon it a blessing for its next owner, infusing it with positive intention. Then release it into the world, surrendering all expectation of return. This simple act signals to the universe your trust in the endless flow of abundance. Chapter 17. Divine Timing. Beyond the castle walls, Roland crafted timepieces of unmatched precision. His clocks measured each second with flawless accuracy, dividing time into perfect increments that seemed to capture the very essence of order. Yet a strange pattern emerged. Those who acquired his masterpieces found their lives descending into chaos. Merchants missed crucial opportunities. Travelers arrived at ports after their ships had sailed, and farmers lost crops by planting according to numerical schedules rather than nature's rhythm. One night, as Roland pondered this mystery, an ancient sage appeared in his workshop. Without speaking, the sage led him to the forest's edge, where they watched as flowers opened not by the hour, but in perfect response to the morning light. Birds began their songs not at a fixed minute, but at the precise moment that harmonized with dawn's awakening. In that moment, Roland understood. He had been measuring time, but not flowing with it. You too have been bound by the illusion of linear time, believing that manifestation must follow your carefully planned schedule. Yet the universe operates through sacred timing, a divine orchestration of countless unseen elements that must align perfectly for your desire to manifest in its most magnificent form. When you insist that abundance must arrive by a certain date, you create resistance to the very forces working to bring you something far greater than your limited mind can conceive. Consider how your most treasured blessings arrived at moments you once labeled too late. That career opportunity that seemed delayed opened doors you couldn't have imagined 6 months earlier. The relationship that manifested behind schedule came when both you and your partner had completed essential inner work. What appeared as divine delay was actually divine perfection. In a small village, Isabel attended births for over 3 decades. Early in her practice, she tried to predict and control the timing of each delivery. Yet nature taught her profound wisdom. Every child comes at the exact moment when all conditions, physical, emotional, spiritual, align in perfect harmony. Those births that seemed delayed often carried hidden blessings. A critical medical provider arriving just in time, or the mother completing an essential emotional release before her child's first breath. Your manifestations follow this same divine wisdom. Like a birth, they cannot be forced before their time without compromising their perfection. Each desire you've planted in the fertile soil of consciousness gestates according to universal law, gathering all elements required for its complete expression. Your only task is to surrender to this perfect timing, knowing that what appears as delay is actually precision beyond human comprehension. Through the divine clock meditation, you release the burden of timing into the universe's capable hands. Settle into sacred silence and envision your desire as a seed already planted in rich soil. With each breath, surrender all anxiety about when it will sprout. Declare with complete trust, "This manifestation unfolds in perfect divine timing, which I now trust completely." Chapter 18, The Surrender of Relationships. In a garden filled with roses, Agatha spent countless hours trying to shape her beloved Thomas into her vision of perfection. Each day she would prune away what she deemed imperfect, offering suggestions for improvement, subtle criticisms wrapped in care. With every attempt to mold him, she watched his spirit withdraw like a flower closing its petals to protect itself from frost. Only when her heart broke from the growing distance between them did she finally understand her love had become a cage. Through your own relationships, you have discovered this same truth. Each time you grasp tightly, attempting to secure love through control, you create the very separation you fear. Your expectations become invisible chains, binding not just the other but yourself to an illusion of what should be rather than what is. The universe operates through a profound paradox in matters of the heart. Only in complete freedom can true connection flourish. When you release your grip on how another should think, feel, or behave, you create the sacred space in which authentic love can blossom. This surrender is not abandonment, but the highest form of love, one that trusts enough to allow the beloved their full sovereignty. Consider Albert, the renowned falconer whose prized hawk performed intricate aerial displays when tethered, yet something was missing in its choreographed perfection. One dawn, moved by an inner knowing, Albert removed its jesses and opened his hand. The hawk soared away, and his heart soared with it, not knowing if it would return. Days passed until one morning, the hawk descended from the clouds, performing maneuvers of such beauty that observers wept. In its freedom, it chose to share gifts far greater than captivity could ever produce. Your relationships carry this same potential. Each time you surrender the need to control their unfolding, you allow a deeper magic to emerge. The one you love becomes not what you demanded, but what they were always meant to be. In releasing your grip, you discover that true love never needs securing. It flourishes precisely because it is free. The relationship release. Take a moment now to identify one expectation you hold for an important relationship. Write it clearly on a piece of paper, feeling its weight in your life. Then, in a sacred space, light a candle and carefully burn the paper while speaking these words. I release you to be exactly as you are, not as I wish you to be, knowing that in this freedom, our true connection can flourish. Chapter 19. Health and Well-Being. In a time when healing was measured by the strength of remedies, Charlotte's reputation drew seekers from distant lands. Her shelves held potions and tinctures for every ailment, her methods precise and calculated. Yet when a mysterious illness befell her, one that defied her extensive knowledge, she discovered that her own medicine chest offered no relief. Through months of struggle, fighting against her body's decline, she exhausted herself with treatments and interventions. Until one night, in the depths of her suffering, she surrendered. In that moment of complete release, she felt her body's whispered wisdom for the first time, not as an enemy to be conquered, but as an intelligence far greater than her trained mind could comprehend. Your body holds this same sacred wisdom. When you release the grip of control, cease the endless battle against symptoms, and surrender to its innate intelligence, healing flows not through force, but through allowing. This surrender activates regenerative abilities that transcend medical understanding, abilities that remain dormant when blocked by resistance and fear. The body speaks in sensations, not words. Each symptom carries a message. Each discomfort holds a teaching. Yet these messages remain unheard when you rush to silence them with remedies. True healing begins when you surrender the need to fix and instead listen with complete acceptance to what your body wishes to reveal. Timothy, a warrior renowned for his strength, learned this truth through his own journey. After a devastating battle wound, he sought healers throughout the land, each offering increasingly aggressive treatments. His resistance to the injury only deepened his suffering until an ancient medicine woman taught him to surrender to the wound itself. As he released his fight against his body's condition, the wound began teaching him a new way of inhabiting his form. Through surrender, he discovered that his body knew precisely how to restore itself. It had simply been waiting for his permission to proceed. The body surrender scan beckons you into this ancient healing wisdom, passed down through countless generations of healers who understood the sacred dialogue between consciousness and form. Lie in complete stillness, allowing your awareness to float like a gentle stream through your being, pausing wherever you encounter tension, discomfort, or dis-ease. Rather than attempting to change or fix these areas through force of will, surrender fully into their current state, accepting them as teachers bearing precious wisdom. With each slow, mindful breath, let your resistance dissolve like morning mist. Feel how your exhalations carry away the need to control, while your inhalations fill you with trust in your body's timeless intelligence. As you rest in this space of deep allowing, silently affirm with each rhythmic breath, I surrender completely to the perfect wisdom of my body, trusting its innate and unstoppable movement toward wholeness. Through acceptance, I allow my natural healing to unfold. Chapter 20. The Vibration of Allowing. In the heart of an ancient temple, Warren devoted his life to mastering an elusive melody, one said to hold the power to awaken souls. For years he practiced tirelessly, his skilled fingers dancing across strings with technical perfection, yet the sacred song remained beyond his reach, its essence slipping away with each determined attempt to capture it. One evening, exhausted from endless practice, Warren lowered his instrument and simply sat in silence. In that moment of complete surrender, Something shifted. His hands moved of their own accord, and through him flowed the very melody he had sought, not played by him, but playing through him. This profound truth lies at the heart of manifestation. When you cease trying to force desires into being and instead become an empty vessel, you enter the precise vibrational state through which abundance naturally flows. This is not passive waiting, but active allowing, a subtle yet powerful distinction that determines whether your surrender leads to stagnation or magnificent manifestation. True allowing requires you to maintain clear intention while releasing all effort to make it happen. Like a crystal goblet waiting to be filled, you hold the shape of your desire while remaining empty enough for the universe to pour into you. This creates the perfect energetic conditions for manifestation to flow through you rather than from you. Rebecca, a gatekeeper of an ancient fountain, discovered this truth through her own journey. Day after day she strained to draw water from the sealed fountain, using every tool and technique she knew. The fountain remained dry until one morning, in complete exhaustion, she surrendered her efforts. At that moment, she noticed a small lever, a channel that had always existed. With one gentle touch, water flowed abundantly. The fountain had never needed her effort, only her recognition and allowing of the existing flow. Your desires operate through this same principle. Everything you seek already exists in potential form, waiting not to be created, but to be revealed through your allowing. When you shift from trying to make things happen to simply opening the channels through which they can flow, manifestation becomes effortless. The allowing attunement is a sacred practice that will guide you into this receptive state of pure potential. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed and settle into a comfortable meditation position. Let your shoulders relax and your breath deepen naturally. Open your palms upward as though ready to receive precious gifts from the universe, and allow your heart center to soften and expand. Feel yourself becoming a clear channel, free of resistance. When you feel centered, speak these words with quiet conviction, letting each syllable resonate through your being. I am now the perfect vessel through which infinite abundance flows effortlessly and gracefully. I release all resistance and allow all that is destined for my highest good to come to me in divine order and perfect timing. The universe moves through me with ease and grace. Let these words settle into your energy field like golden light, filling every cell of your being with their truth. Remain in this receptive state for as long as feels right, knowing that you have activated a powerful channel for manifestation. Part 3, Mastery Through Complete Surrender. Chapter 21, The Fertile Void. In the shadows of an ancient mountain, Elijah, whose creations had inspired thousands, found himself unable to bring forth even the simplest work. His well of inspiration, once bottomless, had run dry. No amount of effort or technique could summon the divine flow that had once moved through him so effortlessly. As he wandered the mountain paths in despair, a hermit emerged from the mists, beckoning him toward a hidden cave. Without words, the mysterious figure led Elijah into absolute darkness. At first, panic gripped him. The emptiness seemed to swallow his very being. Yet as he surrendered to the void, something extraordinary awakened within him. In the complete absence of all forms, he encountered the formless source of all creation. This truth lies at the heart of manifestation. The void you fear is actually the womb of all possibility. When you surrender completely to emptiness, you discover it is not empty at all, but pregnant with infinite potential. Like the darkness before dawn, the void contains all creation in seed form, waiting to emerge through your conscious surrender. Your desires can only manifest through the space you create by letting go. Just as a room must be empty to be filled with new furniture, your life must have space for greater abundance to enter. This space is not created through clearing or cleaning, but through deep surrender into the void that exists beyond all form. Madeline, a queen of vast lands, discovered this wisdom when her kingdom crumbled. Sitting in her empty throne room, stripped of all power and possession, she surrendered completely to her loss. In that moment of absolute emptiness, she noticed a slight draft that led her to discover a hidden chamber. There, beyond the walls of her former glory, lay treasures that exceeded everything she had lost, riches that could only be found through the portal of complete surrender. The void is not an absence, but a fullness beyond form. Like the quantum field that scientists have discovered contains infinite potential energy in seemingly empty space. The void of surrender holds all possibilities within its mysterious depths. The void immersion invites you into this fertile nothingness. Create a space of complete darkness and silence, then enter it for 30 minutes. Surrender all doing, thinking, and striving. Allow yourself to be embraced by the fertile nothingness from which all creation springs. Chapter 22. Living in the Surrender State. In the shimmering heat of endless dunes, Samuel stumbled forward, his waterskins long empty. For days he had followed maps and calculations, each oasis proving to be nothing but mirages. His scholarly knowledge of desert navigation had led him only deeper into desolation. As his strength failed, he encountered an aging nomad sitting peacefully beside a spring that seemed to materialize from nowhere. The nomad offered water without words, then taught Samuel a truth that transformed his journey. Water flows beneath these sands in patterns ancient as time itself. Those who seek never find. Those who surrender are naturally guided. Under the nomad's guidance, Samuel learned to release his desperate searching. As he surrendered his need to find water, his body began moving in harmony with the desert's hidden rhythms. Without maps or methods, he found himself naturally walking the paths where springs bubbled up from depths unknown. The more completely he surrendered, the more reliably water appeared. This wisdom extends far beyond finding water in deserts. The masters of manifestation understand that surrender is not an occasional practice, but a permanent state of being. Just as Samuel learned to move in constant alignment with water's flow, you too can learn to dwell continuously in the surrender state, allowing all abundance to find you naturally. 5 attributes mark this state of perpetual surrender. Receptivity, remaining constantly open to receive like an empty vessel. Trust, maintaining unwavering faith in the universe's perfect orchestration. Presence, dwelling fully in each moment without reaching for the next. Curiosity, viewing all circumstances with innocent wonder rather than judgment. Grace, moving through life with fluid acceptance rather than rigid control. Consider Lucille, whose prophecies transformed countless lives. Yet her true power lay not in dramatic visions, but in her constant state of divine receptivity. She moved through each moment completely empty of personal will, allowing universal wisdom to flow through her as naturally as breathing. Those who sought her counsel often found their answers not in her words, but in her presence, the living embodiment of perpetual surrender. The surrender state anchoring invites you to identify 3 daily triggers, perhaps the sound of birds at dawn, the feeling of water on your hands, the threshold of your home. that will serve as reminders to instantly drop into complete surrender. Let each trigger initiate a moment of total allowing, gradually extending these moments until surrender becomes your natural state of being. Chapter 23. The Disappearance of Struggle. In the heart of a mountain village, Franklin's daily journey became legend. Each morning he would grasp the handles of his heavy cart and begin the arduous climb up the steep path to the marketplace. Years of this labor had transformed his frame into that of a mighty warrior, yet his progress remained slow, measured in inches rather than miles. One day, as sweat poured from his brow, a child sat watching from a stone wall. "Why do you push so hard when the mountain itself offers a way?" the child asked, eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom. Franklin paused, his muscles aching from constant strain. The child led him to a particular point on the path, a spot where the slope changed almost imperceptibly. "Release your cart here," the child instructed, "and watch what the mountain knows." Skeptical but intrigued, Franklin did as suggested. To his amazement, the cart began rolling on its own, following a natural course that wound efficiently to the marketplace. In that moment, he understood that his years of struggle had been unnecessary. The path itself contained the solution. The universe operates through this same principle of effortless accomplishment. You have been taught that results require strain, that success demands struggle, that manifestation must be forced into being through sheer determination. Yet this is an illusion born of limited perception. True power lies not in exertion but in alignment. When you surrender the need to force outcomes, you discover that universal forces stand ready to accomplish with ease what human effort could never achieve. This is not laziness, but the highest form of spiritual efficiency. Consider Harriet, whose tapestries were once born of pain. Her fingers would crack and bleed as she forced each thread into place, believing that beauty required suffering. But one day, her hands could no longer grasp the threads. In that moment of forced surrender, she discovered a lighter touch, allowing the patterns to emerge rather than forcing them into being. Her subsequent works achieved renowned beauty, yet required no strain to create. The sensation of struggle itself becomes a signal that you have moved out of alignment with universal flow. Each tension, each strain, each moment of forcing indicates an opportunity to surrender into greater ease. The paradox reveals itself. The more you release the need to struggle, the more effortlessly your desires manifest. The Effort Surrender Scan beckons you to this deeper awareness. Bring attention to any sensation of strain, pushing, or forcing in your manifestation practices. Then consciously release these tensions while affirming, "I now surrender all struggle," allowing universal forces to accomplish with ease what my effort could never achieve. Chapter 24. The Universe in Action. In the depths of his fertile valley, Nathaniel faced a challenge that seemed insurmountable. A massive boulder, unearthed by spring floods, lay embedded in his most productive field. Day after day, he strained against its unmovable mass, employing every tool and technique his experience suggested. His muscles ached, his spirit weakened, until finally, exhausted beyond measure, he collapsed beside the stone in complete surrender. "I release this burden," he whispered to the evening sky. "I can do no more." That night, a powerful storm swept through the valley. When dawn broke, Nathaniel discovered the boulder split perfectly by lightning, broken into pieces he could easily clear from his field. This seemingly miraculous occurrence reveals a profound truth about the nature of manifestation. The universe operates with an intelligence far beyond your limited perspective. employing forces you cannot comprehend to accomplish what your human effort could never achieve. When you cease your straining and struggling, you create the very space through which these cosmic forces can operate unimpeded. You will notice that your greatest breakthroughs often arrive through unexpected channels, manifesting in ways your logical mind could never have devised. What appears as coincidence or chance to your limited perception is actually the precise orchestration of universal forces activated by your surrender. Consider Catherine, who spent years attempting to heal the rift with her estranged sister. Every direct approach, letters, messages, mutual friends, only seemed to widen the divide. It was only when she completely surrendered her need to control the reconciliation that the universe began its subtle work. A chance meeting at a train station, a shared grief over an old friend's passing, a lost photo album discovered in an attic. 12 seemingly random events gently wove their lives back together, accomplishing effortlessly what all her striving could not achieve. The universe requires no assistance from you to manifest your highest good, only your permission in the form of surrender. Every effort you make to force an outcome actually creates resistance to the perfect unfolding already in motion. For your practice, engage in the Cosmic Action Inventory. Examine the last 3 manifestations in your life, particularly those that seem to arise coincidentally. List the unlikely events, unexpected meetings, or surprising turns that contributed to each outcome. These are not random occurrences, but evidence of universal forces already working on your behalf, revealed only when you step back and surrender. Chapter 25: The Surrender of Purpose. In a remote monastery high in the mountains, William devoted his life to spreading spiritual teachings across distant lands. Each journey took him further from home as he sought to fulfill what he believed was his divine calling. Yet with each mission accomplished, an inexplicable emptiness grew within him. Despite touching countless lives, something felt missing from his own. One morning, preparing for his longest journey yet, William found himself unable to pack his traveling bag. A profound weariness overcame him, not of body but of spirit. In that moment of complete exhaustion, he surrendered his lifelong mission, deciding to remain at the monastery he had always been so eager to leave. In the quiet that followed, William discovered a depth of purpose he had never imagined. The local villagers, whom he had overlooked in his zeal to reach distant shores, began seeking his presence, not for grand teachings, but for the peace they felt in his surrendered state. His greatest work blossomed not through his striving, but through his simple being. When you cling to your vision of spiritual purpose, you create the very limitations that prevent your truest gifts from emerging. Your perceived calling, no matter how noble, becomes a cage that confines the infinite ways your light might shine. Only in releasing your attachment to how you must serve can your authentic contribution naturally unfold. Elizabeth, a healer renowned throughout her land, faced this truth when her gift suddenly vanished. For years, people had traveled great distances to receive her healing touch. Her identity and purpose were completely entwined with this ability. When it disappeared, she fell into despair, surrendering her role as healer in bitter acceptance. Yet in this surrender, something extraordinary occurred. A new kind of healing presence emerged through her, one that worked not through technique or effort, but through her transformed state of being. Those in her presence found themselves healing in ways her previous abilities could never have achieved. Her true purpose had found her only when she released all attachment to purpose itself. The Purpose Release Ceremony invites you to experience this profound surrender. Take a piece of paper and write down your most cherished spiritual purpose or calling, the divine mission you believe you must fulfill. Then release this paper to the elements, burn it, bury it, or let it float away in moving water while declaring, "I surrender even my highest purpose," trusting that what returns will transcend what I release. Chapter 26. The Multiplied Power of Divine Non-Doing. In ancient times, Augustus served as the kingdom's most devoted worker, his hands touching every vital task from dawn to dusk. His efficiency became legendary, yet this very prowess bound both him and the realm to limitation. When illness forced him to his bed, he struggled against the fever, desperate to maintain his grip on the kingdom's operations. Only when exhaustion overcame his resistance did he surrender control, delegating his many duties among the court. What followed transformed not only Augustus but the entire kingdom. As others stepped into roles he had jealously guarded, their unique gifts emerged. The royal gardens flourished under a young apprentice's intuitive touch. The treasury multiplied through a quiet scribe's brilliant innovations. The granaries overflowed as farmers implemented improvements Augustus would never have conceived. Within your own sphere, such exponential power awaits your strategic surrender. When you release your grip on how things must be done, you create space for universal forces to work through multiple channels simultaneously. This truth reveals three distinct modes of manifestation. Frantic action springs from fear and grasping, exhausting your energy while yielding diminishing returns. Though you may appear productive, this desperate doing actually constricts the flow of abundance. Aligned action emerges from inspiration and flows with grace. While more effective than frantic doing, it still limits results to what you personally can achieve. But powerful non-action, the conscious choice to step back and allow universal forces to work unhindered, creates a vacuum that draws in exponential results through countless unseen channels. Consider the tale of Amelia, captain of a merchant vessel caught in a devastating storm. Though her crew begged her to fight the winds, she recognized a greater wisdom in the chaos. Surrendering the helm, she allowed her ship to be carried by forces beyond her control. While other vessels sought safe harbor, only Amelia's surrender positioned her to discover an abundant new land where no planned course could have led. Your own journey of manifestation follows this same principle. What appears as chaos often disguises the universe's reorganizing of circumstances for your highest good. But this reorganization can only occur when you surrender your limited patterns of action. The Strategic Non-Doing Declaration. Choose one active manifestation goal that burns brightest in your heart. Take a fresh piece of paper and with clear intention, write your desire in precise detail, not as a wish, but as a sacred declaration to the universe. Then, in a quiet space where you can fully connect with the deeper wisdom within, speak these words with conviction and reverence. For 7 days, I completely and unconditionally surrender all action toward this cherished desire. With perfect faith and unwavering trust, I step back from my own limited ways of doing. I release my need to control and allow the infinite intelligence of universal forces to work unhindered through countless channels I cannot yet perceive. In the depths of my being, I know with absolute certainty that what emerges through this sacred surrender will far exceed anything my personal effort alone could achieve. I trust in the perfect unfolding of divine timing. Let these words resonate in your heart as you feel the profound shift from doing to allowing, from forcing to flowing. This declaration becomes your bridge between limited human action and limitless universal potential. Chapter 27. Absolute Trust. In the misty peaks of an ancient mountain range, Abraham stood at the edge of a vast chasm. Across the void he could see his destination, a gleaming temple that had called to him in dreams. But no bridge spanned the empty space, no path revealed itself through the swirling clouds below. For days he searched the cliff's edge, seeking some hidden crossing, until exhaustion brought him to his knees. It was then that an ancient master emerged from the morning mist. Without words, the master stepped directly toward the precipice. Abraham reached out to stop him, but watched in awe as the elder's foot touched what appeared to be empty space, and held firm. With each step, a bridge of light materialized beneath his feet, visible only after he moved forward in complete trust. This threshold you now face represents the final gateway between the realm of limited manifestation and the domain of miracles. Here, the universe asks not for careful calculation, but for absolute trust, a surrender so complete that it precedes all evidence. Most seek proof before trusting, demanding the bridge appear before taking the step. But this conditional trust keeps you bound to the realm of incremental change, where manifestation creeps forward at the pace of logic. Absolute trust moves first, stepping into apparent emptiness with unwavering certainty that support will appear. This is how quantum leaps in manifestation occur, through trust that transcends reason. Consider Constance, appointed guardian of the sacred waters that had flowed since time immemorial. When the spring suddenly ran dry, all logic demanded she abandon her post. Fellow guardians departed, calling her foolish for maintaining her vigil beside empty basins, but Constance's trust ran deeper than evidence. She continued her ceremonies before dry fountains, speaking to the waters as if they still flowed. Others mocked her certainty until the day the ground trembled and waters returned with such force that new channels had to be carved to contain their abundance. Her trust without proof had created the very proof others required for trust. This same principle operates in your manifestation journey. The evidence you seek can only appear after you step forward in complete trust. The bridge materializes beneath your feet, never before them. The Trust Fall Meditation. Sit quietly in a peaceful space and visualize yourself standing at the edge of a magnificent precipice. Feel the infinite vastness of space extending behind you into eternity. Let your awareness expand to embrace the profound emptiness, knowing it contains all possibilities. Now, with your heart open and your spirit aligned with ancient wisdom, allow yourself to fall backward, completely surrendering every vestige of physical security and mental certainty. Release all attachment to the visible world as you surrender to the unseen forces that have guided seekers throughout the ages. As you fall through the sacred void, speak these words with unwavering conviction, letting them resonate through every fiber of your being. I trust absolutely in what I cannot see, knowing it is more real and reliable than what stands before my eyes. The unseen realms hold the true substance of all manifestation. Chapter 28, Beyond Thought. In the hallowed halls of an ancient library, Benjamin pored over scrolls and manuscripts, seeking the answer to a philosophical riddle that had mystified sages for centuries. His mind, sharp as a blade from decades of study, had mastered every school of thought, yet the answer remained elusive. The more he analyzed, the further the truth seemed to slip away. One day, wandering in frustration through a forest, he encountered a sage sitting in perfect stillness. Benjamin eagerly shared his intellectual quest, but the sage remained silent, eyes closed, emanating an inexplicable knowing. As Benjamin sat beside him, hours passed in silence until his racing thoughts began to quiet. In that space between thoughts, the answer he had sought emerged with crystal clarity, not as a product of thinking, but as a direct knowing that bypassed the mind entirely. When you surrender the mind's constant activity, you open yourself to a higher intelligence that operates beyond thought. Your analytical mind, magnificent as it is, creates the very barrier that blocks your deepest manifestations. Like a radio trying to broadcast and receive simultaneously, your thinking drowns out the universe's broadcast of solutions, insights, and abundance. Consider Marianne, whose brilliant mathematical mind had wrestled with an equation that defied solution. For 3 years, she applied every known formula and theorem, pushing her cognitive abilities to their limits. One night, exhausted beyond thought, she surrendered her mental striving completely. In that moment of mental silence, she watched in awe as the symbols on her page seemed to dance and rearrange themselves, revealing a solution that her calculating mind could never have conceived. The universe's intelligence flows not through thought, but through the space between thoughts. Your mind's activity, like turbulent waters, distorts the reflection of truth. Only when the waters grow still can reality reflect clearly. This is why your most profound revelations often arrive in moments of mental quiet, the early morning, during meditation, or just before sleep. The Thought Surrender Meditation. Sit comfortably in a quiet space where you won't be disturbed, letting your body settle into a position of natural ease. Allow your awareness to rest gently on the steady stream of thoughts passing through your mind like a witness watching clouds drift across an endless sky. Watch each thought as it arises, whether mundane or profound, without engaging or following its trail, visualizing it dissolving into luminous space before the next appears. Notice the brief, precious gaps between thoughts, those moments of pure clarity that exist naturally in your consciousness. Gradually allow these spaces to lengthen, like the widening distances between waves on a calming sea. As your mind grows quieter, you may sense a deepening stillness, a sacred emptiness pregnant with possibility. Rest in this fertile void of pure awareness, becoming receptive to the subtle whispers of universal intelligence that can only be heard in silence. Feel yourself opening like a flower to the sunlight, allowing divine wisdom to flow through the space you have created, bringing with it insights, solutions, and manifestations that your thinking mind could never have conceived. Chapter 29, The Alchemy of Gratitude and Surrender. In a hidden chamber beneath an ancient city, Lydia bent over her alchemist's table, surrounded by the world's rarest elements. For decades, she had followed every sacred formula, combining precious materials with precise measurements, yet gold remained elusive. Her shelves held vessels of morning dew, starlight captured in crystal, and essences distilled from the rarest flowers, all to no avail. One night, exhausted by failure, she wept into her final experiment while whispering gratitude for all she had learned through her attempts. As her tears of surrender merged with her heart's genuine thankfulness, she watched in awe as the contents of her crucible transformed instantly into pure gold, a transformation that defied every known law of alchemy. You stand now at the threshold of understanding the highest alchemy, the sacred union of gratitude and surrender. This combination creates a vibrational frequency so powerful it accelerates manifestation beyond all other spiritual practices combined. Like two wings of the same bird, neither can soar alone. Gratitude without surrender becomes attachment to what is, while surrender without gratitude descends into mere resignation, yet when merged they create the exact resonance that collapses time itself in the manifestation process. Consider Harold, whose life's work was building a cathedral that all said was impossible. For years he labored, following his grand vision, until a lightning strike destroyed half his progress. In that moment of devastation, he did something remarkable. He surrendered his attachment to his original plans, while simultaneously giving thanks for this apparent disaster. This grateful surrender opened a door to divine inspiration, revealing an entirely new design that surpassed his original vision in every way. What seemed like destruction became the catalyst for manifestation beyond imagination. This mirrors a profound truth. When you achieve the precise vibrational alignment of grateful surrender, you transcend linear time itself. Future manifestations collapse into present experience, bypassing the need for gradual progression. This is not magic, but quantum mechanics operating at the spiritual level. The gratitude-surrender fusion beckons you to enter this sacred transformative state, a practice as ancient as the mystics who first discovered its power. Choose something you deeply desire but has not yet manifested in your physical reality, perhaps a dream, a relationship, or an achievement that calls to your soul. Enter a state of complete and unconditional surrender, releasing every last thread of attachment to how this blessing must appear or when it should grace your life. Let your grip on control dissolve like morning mist in the warmth of trust. Simultaneously, allow genuine, heartfelt gratitude to overflow from the depths of your being, as if your desire has already manifested in its perfect form. Feel the joy, the wonder, the profound appreciation coursing through your body as though you are experiencing your manifestation in this very moment. This is not pretense, but rather accessing the timeless dimension where all possibilities already exist. Maintain this paradoxical consciousness, this delicate dance of letting go while giving thanks, for 7 sacred minutes each day. Dwell in this mystical union where surrender and gratitude merge into one powerful force, creating a vibrational signature that the universe cannot help but answer. Let each breath during these moments be both a release and a celebration, as you rest in the sacred space where time bends to consciousness itself. Chapter 30. The Art of Doing Nothing. Archibald's quest for enlightenment led him across mountains, through sacred valleys, and into the presence of countless masters. His spiritual backpack grew heavy with practices, mantras from Tibet, mudras from India, ceremonies from Peru. Each technique promised the awakening he sought, yet enlightenment remained elusive. One day, exhausted from his endless seeking, he collapsed beneath a tree where a sage sat laughing. "Why do you laugh?" Archibald asked wearily. "Because you seek what you already are," the sage replied. "Put down your heavy load of practices. Rest as the awareness in which all experience occurs." At that moment, Archibald understood. All his spiritual techniques, like clouds, had obscured the ever-present sun of his true nature. You stand now at this same threshold of understanding. The ultimate refinement of manifestation requires no technique at all. This may seem counterintuitive to your mind trained in doing, yet the complete cessation of seeking creates the precise conditions through which all you have sought can finally find you. This truth reveals itself through the story of Lucinda, who spent years pursuing love through endless self-improvement. She studied attraction techniques, attended relationship workshops, and transformed herself according to every dating expert's advice. Yet true love eluded her until the day she surrendered all seeking and simply fell in love with her own presence. Within weeks, her perfect partner appeared, drawn naturally to the magnetic force of her self-contained completeness. This mirrors the ultimate paradox of manifestation. What you most desperately seek is actively seeking you, but cannot find you while you chase it. Like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror, the very act of seeking creates the illusion of separation from what you desire. The sacred nothing practice beckons you into this profound state of non-doing, this exquisite surrender to the infinite. Set a timer for 11 minutes. This number carries ancient significance in spiritual traditions as a gateway between worlds, and allow yourself to enter complete stillness, not meditating in any formal sense, not reciting affirmations, not engaging in visualization, not analyzing or processing your thoughts. Simply rest as pure, unbounded awareness, like an infinite sky that holds all things without effort or strain. In this sacred space of nothing, you become the vast cosmic arena through which the universe naturally expresses itself, like a clear mirror that neither grasps nor rejects what it reflects. You rest as the luminous space in which all desires spontaneously arise and dissolve. Your only task is to remain as this open presence, allowing the divine intelligence that orchestrates galaxies to work through you unimpeded. In this state of perfect allowing, you discover that manifestation requires no effort. It is your natural state when all doing falls away. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. Through these chapters you have walked an ancient path, one that sages and masters throughout time have recognized as the ultimate key to manifesting reality, yet this wisdom differs from all other manifestation teachings, for it reveals that true power lies not in doing but in the complete release of doing. The paradox you now understand in your bones. Absolute surrender creates absolute power. Not the power of force or control, but the infinite power of allowing universal forces to work through you unimpeded. This is not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of the river to its course, the surrender of the seed to its flowering, the surrender of the universe to its own unfolding. You have discovered that manifestation flows not from your effort, but from your essence, the radiant presence that naturally emerges when all striving ceases. This presence requires no enhancement, no improvement, no technique. It simply is, and in its essence lies all power. Your journey has transformed not just your ability to manifest desires, but your fundamental relationship with existence itself. Where once you saw yourself as a separate entity struggling against life's currents, you now recognize yourself as the awareness in which all currents flow. This shift from doing to being marks the threshold of mastery. Yet know that this path of surrender never ends. It spirals ever deeper, revealing ever subtler layers of attachment to release. Each surrender opens into greater freedom. Each letting go reveals new dimensions of possibility. The practice continues to deepen, for there is always more to release. As you carry these teachings forward, remember, surrender is both your practice and your nature, both your path and your destination. In the sacred space of complete letting go, you have discovered the secret that transforms ordinary existence into magical collaboration with universal forces. You need to do nothing more than remember the truth. Surrender controls reality. You've heard the call, not from me, but from the deeper intelligence moving through these words. If you're willing, drop into the comments with this simple phrase, I let go. That alone begins the unfolding, and if you feel resonance, subscribe not to follow but to align. This is a field of frequency, and your presence changes everything. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.